In today's class, we are going to study about acceleration. Now, what is acceleration? We know about velocity, speed, distance, displacement. These all are some of the physical quantities which defines motion. In the same way, acceleration is also a parameter which helps you to calculate about motion. So, what is acceleration? If consider an object is in motion. When the object is in motion, if the velocity of that object has changed, or if the velocity of the object has increased, then we can say that there is acceleration on that motion, or there was an acceleration for that body. How can you find acceleration? We can find acceleration by using an equation. Acceleration is equal to change in velocity divided by time. So what is acceleration? We can define acceleration as if the rate of change of velocity is acceleration. So how can we find this? For that, I am using an example. Consider a body is at rest. Then suddenly it has a force is applied on that body, and that body has changed its velocity from 0 meter per second to 20 meter per second. 0 meter per second to 20 meter per second. So it has reached 5 meter per second speed, that much velocity, in 5 seconds. So we can say that for that body there was an acceleration. For that body there is an acceleration from 0 meter per second to 20 meter per second in 5 seconds. So how can we find acceleration for this? The equation for acceleration, or we can say to find acceleration, we should know the change in velocity and the time taken for that change. So how can we find the change in velocity? The change in velocity can be found from, if the final velocity and initial velocity is given, we will be able to find the change in velocity. And if the time is also given, then we can find the acceleration of that object. Now here, if the body has changed from 0 meter per second to 20 meter per second in 5 seconds, then what is the initial velocity? Initial velocity is 0 meter per second, and the final velocity can be 20 meter per second. So we apply this in the equation, that acceleration is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time taken. Here in this case, the initial velocity is 0 meter per second and final velocity is 20 meter per second. So acceleration is equal to 20 minus 0 divided by 5. So that is equal to 4 per second squared. So here we find that acceleration is 4 meter per second square. Here you have seen that meter per second square, that is 20 meter per second divided by 5 seconds. So it is equal to 4 meter per second square. So that is how the unit. So the SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So for examples of acceleration, where we find we will find this in nature itself. If an object is moving from the atmosphere towards the earth, for a free fall object, there is acceleration. If the batsman bat, when the ball is thrown from a bowler, in all these cases there is acceleration. In the same way, if the change in velocity can also be negative, or we can say that deceleration. When there is deceleration, if you are throwing an object towards the atmosphere, towards the top, towards the sky, we can see that after some times it has stopped at a point and it comes back. So when it is moving upward, there is deceleration. Or if you are kicking a ball, then we can find that the ball will roll for some time. Initially there will be high speed or high velocity, and after some times there will be a change in velocity and it comes to rest. So that means the change in velocity is in the form of negative value. So we can say that there is deceleration. So this is all about acceleration.